everything in this universe and beyond is made of fields. And we introduced you to the concept of magnetic and gravitational fields, which we commonly refer to as MAGRAV fields. And just to recap on what they really mean. So if we understand, we showed the video of the two magnets. So last on part one. So when the magnets repel each other, we call that magnetical. And when sort of magneticals attract each other, we call that gravitational. And it's the strength of each magnet will dictate that gap that they keep between. And as you saw, as one moves, the other one just repositions and maintains that distance. And when we look at the interaction of the fields between the two magnets or two plasmas, as referred to, so the fields exiting the one interact and enter the bottom of the next plasma. And this is how they keep their distance from each other and keep that gap. It's how they interact with each other, even though they're not in direct contact. And we had sort of brought to you the understanding that we, from the matter state, we go into the nano, and we showed you a bit of the GANs. So today we're going to look a little bit deeper into what we term as sort of the plasma and the fields that make up the plasma. There's just a nice picture, which we will go on later on today, of the plasma fields which we have been put into the ice when we freeze the water. Okay, so when we look at a plasma, we've got to look at the sort of magnetical and gravitational fields of this plasma. And a plasma can be made of millions and millions of fields which come together and interact continuously. It's a sort of dynamic field interaction. Now, when we look at the direction of flow of these fields, this flow really dictates what we call magnetical and gravitational fields, because the magnetical is flowing out or away, and gravitational are the ones flowing in or towards, because they've been attracted inwards. And when we look at sort of further definitions of these two words, when we look at magnetical, we can define it as the interaction of different magnetic fields of different strengths, creating the initial seeds of the plasma, where the outward flowing fields are known as magnetic fields. And when we look at the definition of gravitational, it's the interaction of different magnetic fields of different strengths, creating the initial seeds of the plasma, where the inward flowing fields are known as the gravitational fields. So that gives you a nice definition of those two meanings. So when we look at the plasma itself, the fields are constantly given out, and what is not needed in the environment is then taken back in to the center. So what comes out comes back in at the bottom, but what comes out from the plasma and is not needed in the environment is then taken back in. So that's the principle when we really go into on depths on the soul side later on. It's the principle of giving and receiving unconditionally, because there's nothing attached to it. It's just given out. What is not needed is then taken back in again. So to sum all that up on what plasma is really about, it can be made of millions and millions of fields that come together and interact continuously. So it's a dynamic field interaction of these fields, and that's what creates the plasma, what we know as the plasma. Now, when we take a look at sort of the world around us, you know, we've been told that when we look at an atom, we sort of have a lot of empty space, and if you try and put that space into an understanding, if we take a golf ball was the neutron, then the electron would be 1 kilometer away. So we have to ask the question then, what is in the space? What makes the electron move in relation to the protons and neutrons in the middle? And what makes them keep their distance? because there is a huge amount of space in between. And essentially then we have to say that this empty space is filled with the magnetic fields. And we can extend this further if we look out into our solar system and we see the sun and we see the planets in our solar system, but we do see a lot of vast empty space. And this is also filled with magnetic fields and magnetic rays. So even though we perceive it as empty, we don't see them, they are filled with these magnetic fields and magnetic rays. So now we're going to have a look at how a single plasma is formed. And there we've got the small video that we have. So I'm going to stop sharing there for Flint.
So this is just an animation showing how a plasma is formed from singular rays.
So as you can see, you've got your two magnetic rays, and when two rays of similar strength find each other, they start interacting and you start the beginnings in the creation of a plasma with those magnetic rays. And then you start getting a dynamic interaction of these rays forming your plasma. Okay, Flint, thanks very much. I think most of us have seen this video, this small video clip. It's been around a very long time, but it does give you the essence of the interaction of these fields.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we then have to view that we see the dynamic interaction of these fields. So you've got the magnetic rays coming together, they find a match, and they start interacting with each other, and they start creating that dynamic interaction of these fields. And this is what we call sort of a plasma. And we only see these fields when they slow down enough to become the matter state. You know, that's why these fields are going at there are different strengths out there. That's why we don't see them. So we only see those which have slowed down enough for us to be able to see it as the matter state.